The old Zephyrian sat in the corner of the memorial hall, his blue scales dull with age. His cybernetic arm made soft clicking sounds as he moved. Kexthal had not wanted to come here today. He had not wanted to remember. Kim Min-jun adjusted his recording device and looked at the alien veteran across the table. The young human filmmaker had traveled far to reach this place. The Galactic Peace Memorial Center stood on neutral ground, between human and Zephyrian space. It was built to honor those who died in the war 50 years ago. "Thank you for agreeing to speak with me," Kim said in careful Zephyrian. His accent was thick but respectful. Kexthal's golden eyes studied the human. Kim looked so young. Maybe 25 human years. He had not lived through the war. He did not understand what it meant to fight humans. "Why do you want to hear an old soldier's stories?" Kexthal asked. "Because people need to know what really happened," Kim replied. "The history books tell us about battles and dates, but they do not tell us what it felt like to be there." The memorial hall was quiet around them. Sunlight came through tall windows, lighting up the names carved into the walls. Human names and Zephyrian names stood side by side. Kexthal's clawed fingers traced the edge of the table. "I was young then," Kexthal began slowly. "Younger than you are now. The Zephyrian Empire was strong. We had conquered dozens of worlds. When the humans started leaving their home system, we thought they would be easy to defeat." Kim leaned forward. "What made you think that?" "Everything," Kexthal said, with a bitter laugh. "Their ships were made of crude metal. Ours were living biovessels that could heal themselves. Their weapons shot simple projectiles. Ours used pure energy. They had no shields, no advanced armor. They seemed weak and divided." The old veteran paused, looking out the window at the memorial gardens. Human and Zephyrian children played together on the grass. Their parents watched peacefully from benches. Such a sight would have been impossible during the war. "Our intelligence said they would surrender after one big defeat," Kexthal continued. "The Empire had never been wrong before. Every other species either joined us willingly or fell quickly in battle." "But humans were different?" Kim asked. "Yes, but not in the way we expected." Kexthal's voice became quieter. "I was part of the assault force that attacked New Sol Colony. It was supposed to be a simple mission. Land, defeat the garrison, capture the population. 3 days at most." Kim waited patiently as the veteran gathered his thoughts. The young man had learned that silence often brought better answers than questions. "The human commander was named Park Soo-jin," Kexthal said, "a small woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. Our scanners showed she had only 300 soldiers to defend a city of 50,000. We had 2,000 warriors and air support." "What happened when you attacked?" "At first, everything went as planned. Our bioships destroyed their defense towers. Our ground forces landed without problems. The human soldiers fell back toward the city center. We thought they were running away." Kexthal's cybernetic fingers drummed against the table. "But they were not running. They were buying time." Kim frowned. "Time for what?" "Evacuation ships," Kexthal said. "While we were fighting their soldiers, transport vessels were loading civilians and taking them away. Every ship that escaped carried families, children, elderly people. The soldiers were dying to save people who could not fight." The concept still seemed to confuse the old Zephyrian. In his culture, warriors protected territory and resources. Civilians were expected to serve the military, not the other way around. "I had never seen anything like it," Kexthal continued. "Human soldiers threw themselves at our positions with no hope of winning. They used their bodies to block our advance. Some ran straight into our fire just to delay us for a few more minutes. Did they retreat when they realized they could not win? No." The word came out sharp and bitter. They fought until the last transport ship escaped. Commander Park died holding a barricade with only 12 soldiers left. She could have evacuated with the civilians. She chose to stay. Kim made notes on his tablet, but his eyes never left Keksthal's face. The veteran's expression was hard to read, but there was pain in his golden eyes. When we finally took the city, it was empty, Keksthal said. No prisoners, no resources, no victory celebration. Just empty buildings and the bodies of humans who died for nothing we could understand. What did your commanders think? They were angry. Confused. We had won the battle but gained nothing useful. The humans had denied us everything we came for. Keksthal looked down at his hands. That was my first lesson about fighting humans. They did not fight the way we expected. Kim waited for more, but Keksthal seemed lost in memory. The old alien's breathing was heavy, like the words were difficult to speak. Was that when you started to understand? Kim asked gently. No, Keksthal replied. I thought it was just one strange battle. The Empire told us humans were using desperate tactics because they were weak. We believed that for a long time. He paused. We were wrong about everything. The memorial hall's clock chimed softly, marking the hour. Other visitors moved quietly through the space, reading names and leaving small flowers at the base of the walls. The real nightmare had not started yet, Keksthal said. New Soul was just the beginning. What came after? That changed everything. Not just for me, but for our entire empire. Kim checked his recording device. It was working perfectly, capturing every word of the veteran's testimony. But he sensed there was much more to this story than one battle. Will you tell me about what came next? Kim asked. Keksthal was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Yes. You wanted to know why fighting humans was a nightmare. The next battle will help you understand. The old veteran's cybernetic arm clicked softly as he reached for the water glass Kim had brought him. Outside the windows, the memorial gardens looked peaceful in the afternoon sun. But Keksthal's eyes saw a different time, when that peace seemed impossible. The nightmare was not what we thought it would be, he said quietly. That was the problem. Keksthal took a slow drink of water before continuing his story. Kim Min-jun waited patiently, knowing the old veteran needed time to find the right words. After New Soul, the Empire sent larger forces to human space, Keksthal said. We thought the problem was that we had not used enough soldiers. High Command ordered a full assault on the human medical colony at Kepler Station. Kim nodded, making notes. He had read about Kepler Station in the historical records, but those reports were cold facts and numbers. They did not capture what it felt like to be there. I was promoted to squad leader after New Soul. The veteran continued. My unit was part of the third wave. We were supposed to mop up any remaining resistance after the main force broke through. What was special about Kepler Station? Kim asked. It was not a military target, Keksthal explained. The station was a research facility and hospital. It treated sick and injured people from dozens of human colonies. The Empire thought capturing it would force humans to surrender quickly. The old Zephyrian's scales seemed to darken as he remembered. The attack began at dawn, station time. Our bioships surrounded the facility, while ground forces landed on the docking bays. The humans had only a small security force, maybe 50 guards. Did they surrender? No. They did something we had never seen before. Keksthal's voice became strained. The human commander was named Dr. Lee Hee-jin. She was not a soldier, just a doctor who ran the hospital. But when our forces landed, she started evacuating patients. Kim looked confused. That seems normal for a hospital under attack. You do not understand, Keksthal said, shaking his head. She was not just moving human patients. The hospital treated beings from many species, There were injured Vorthan traders, sick Kalani children, even some Zephyrian civilians who had been hurt in mining accidents. The young filmmaker's eyes widened. She was saving your people too? Dr. Lee organized the evacuation herself. She sent the sickest patients first, regardless of what species they were. When our troops reached the medical levels, they found her treating a wounded Zephyrian child, while human soldiers fought to protect them both. Kexthal's cybernetic fingers clicked nervously on the table. My squad captured her in the pediatric ward. She was trying to move children to the evacuation ships. Human children, Kalani younglings, and 3 Zephyrian hatchlings whose parents worked at the station. Kim waited for the veteran to continue, but Kexthal seemed stuck in the memory. His golden eyes stared at something only he could see. What happened to Dr. Lee? Kim asked gently. My commanding officer wanted to make an example. He ordered her execution in front of the remaining medical staff. He said it would break their spirit and force them to surrender. Kexthal's voice cracked. But Dr. Lee did not beg for her life. She only asked us to let the children evacuate first. Did you? No. The commander refused. He said all humans would be processed as prisoners. Kexthal looked down at his hands. That was when Dr. Lee activated her emergency beacon. Kim frowned. What did that do? It sent a distress signal to every human ship and station in the system. The message said that children were in danger at Kepler Station. The veteran's voice became almost a whisper. Within an hour, every human soldier and ship in the area was heading toward us. Even though they knew it was a trap, they did not care. The medical emergency beacon was sacred to humans. When it activated, they came running, no matter what the cost. Kexthal's cybernetic arm jerked slightly. 300 human fighters attacked our position. They had no chance of winning. Our forces were too strong, but they came anyway. Kim made notes. But he could see the pain in the old alien's expression. What happened to the children? The humans broke through our outer perimeter. Not to win the battle, but to reach the evacuation ships. They fought like something was driving them beyond normal reason. Kexthal paused. I watched human soldiers throw their bodies against our bioweapons to clear a path for civilian transports. Did the children escape? All of them, including the 3 Zephyrian hatchlings. The veteran's voice was heavy with emotion. Dr. Lee died, covering their escape. She held a pulse rifle she barely knew how to use, standing between my unit and the evacuation ships. Kim could see that this memory still hurt the old soldier. What was your reaction to seeing this? Confusion, anger, fear. Kexthal looked up at Kim. In Zephyrian military tradition, soldiers fight for territory, resources, or honor. But these humans were dying for people they had never met. Some of them were dying to save Zephyrian children. How did that make you feel? Lost. Kexthal admitted. My training had not prepared me for this. The Empire taught us that other species were either subjects to rule or enemies to defeat. But Dr. Lee had treated our wounded as carefully as her own people. The memorial hall seemed quieter now, as if the building itself was listening to the veteran's story. Kim glanced around and saw that other visitors had stopped to listen as well. After Kepler Station, did your commanders change their tactics? Kim asked. They tried to. High Command sent new orders about targeting only military facilities and avoiding civilians. But it did not matter. Kexthal's laugh was bitter. Every battle was the same. Humans would sacrifice themselves to save others. Sometimes, they died, protecting our people, who were caught in the fighting. How did your fellow soldiers react to this? At first, we thought it was strategy. Some kind of psychological warfare meant to confuse us. The veteran shook his head. But after a few more battles, we realized it was not tactics. It was just who they were. Kim looked at his notes, trying to understand. So the humans were not trying to manipulate you? No. They were just being human. That was the problem. Kexthal's golden eyes met Kim's. How do you fight an enemy who keeps saving your people? How do you hate beings who treat your wounded better than your own commanders do? The question hung in the air between them. Kim could see other visitors in the memorial hall, nodding, as if they understood what the veteran meant. This pattern continued throughout the war? Kim asked. Yes. Every battle. Every encounter. Humans would fight desperately, but they always protected the innocent first, even when the innocent were us. Kexthal's cybernetic arm clicked as he shifted position. That was when some of us started having doubts. Doubts about what? About everything. About the war. About the Empire. About what we were doing. The old veteran looked tired suddenly. When you capture an enemy medical facility and find them treating your wounded alongside their own, it makes you question who the real enemy is. Kim sensed they were reaching a turning point in the story. Is that when you began to change your mind about humans? Not yet. I was still a loyal soldier then, but the seeds of doubt were planted. Kexthal gestured toward the memorial walls around them. The real change came later, during my capture. That was when I learned what humans were really like when no one was watching. You were captured by human forces? Yes, and that experience. Kexthal trailed off, looking around the peaceful memorial hall. That was when I understood why fighting humans was truly a nightmare. Not because they were cruel, but because they were not. The afternoon sun moved lower outside the memorial hall windows. Kexthal sat quietly for several minutes, his cybernetic arm making soft mechanical sounds. Kim Min-jun waited patiently, understanding that some memories needed time to surface. My capture happened during the siege of Terra Nova, Kexthal finally said. It was the biggest human colony in the Outer Rim. The Empire sent its finest warriors there, including my unit. Kim checked his recording device and nodded for the veteran to continue. We had been fighting for 3 weeks. The humans kept falling back, but they never broke. Every time we advanced, they would evacuate more civilians and set up new defensive lines. Kexthal's golden eyes focused on something far away. My squad was cut off during a human counterattack. We found ourselves trapped behind enemy lines, with no way to call for help. How long were you trapped? 23 days. The number came out sharp and precise. We expected to die. In Zephyrian military doctrine, soldiers captured behind enemy lines are usually executed or used as hostages. Kim made a note. But that is not what happened? No. The humans found us on the 4th day. We were hiding in a damaged factory, trying to survive on emergency rations. Kexthal's voice became softer. The human patrol was led by Captain Jung Woo-sung, a fighter pilot whose ship had been shot down near our position. Was he also trapped? No. Captain Jung had been rescued by his people 2 days earlier, but he volunteered to come back and search for survivors. The veteran paused. Both human and Zephyrian survivors. Kim looked up from his notes. He was looking for your soldiers too? Yes. The humans had seen our ship crash. Their military code required them to search for wounded enemies as well as their own people. Kexthal's laugh was quiet and sad. We did not understand this at first. We thought it was a trick. What happened when they found you? Captain Jung called out to us in broken Zephyrian. He said they were there to help, not to fight. My squad leader, Velketh, was badly injured from the crash. He needed medical attention. The old veteran looked down at his hands. I told Captain Jung that Velketh would die without treatment. Did the captain help him? Immediately, he called for a human medic and had Velketh transported to their field hospital. No interrogation, no demands for information. Just medical care. Kexthal shook his head slowly. The human medic was Dr. Sarah Choi. She worked on Velketh for 6 hours to save his life. Kim could hear the emotion in the veteran's voice. How did you feel about this treatment? Thing. Confused. Suspicious. In the Zephyrian military, captured enemies are resources to be used. But Dr. Choi treated Velketh like he was her own patient. She even learned some Zephyrian words to make him more comfortable. The memorial hall was getting quieter as other visitors left for the day. The soft sounds of the ventilation system and Keksthal's cybernetic arm were the only noises breaking the silence. We were taken to a temporary prison facility, the veteran continued. But it was not like any prison we had expected. The humans had built it according to Zephyrian dietary and cultural needs. How did they know about your culture? Captain Jung had studied our society during his recovery. He wanted to make sure captured Zephyrian soldiers were treated properly. Keksthal's cybernetic fingers traced patterns on the table. The facility had proper lighting for our scales, food prepared according to our customs, and even communication equipment so we could send messages to our families. Kim looked amazed. They let you contact your families? Once a week, for 15 minutes each. Dr. Choi said families had a right to know their loved ones were alive and well. The veteran's voice cracked slightly. I was able to tell my mate and hatchlings that I was safe. The Empire had listed me as missing and presumed dead. What was daily life like in this prison? That was the strangest part. It did not feel like a prison. The humans called it a temporary housing facility. We had duties to keep busy, but also time for recreation and education. Kekshthal paused. Captain Jung visited often. He taught us human games and asked about Zephyrian culture. Was he interrogating you for military information? No. He was genuinely curious about our society. He wanted to understand why we fought, what our homes were like, what we believed in. The old veteran looked confused, even after 50 years. In the Zephyrian Empire, enemy cultures are considered inferior and not worth studying. But Captain Jung treated our traditions with respect. Kim made extensive notes as he tried to understand this alien perspective on human behavior. How did this affect you and your fellow prisoners? Slowly, we began to change. Velketh was the first. After Dr. Choi saved his life, he started questioning why we were fighting people who showed us such kindness. Keksthal's golden eyes met Kim's. It spread through the facility, like an infection. Infection? That is what our commanders called it when word reached the Empire. They said human psychological warfare was corrupting our soldiers. But it was not warfare. It was just humans being human. The afternoon light was fading outside, casting long shadows through the memorial hall. Kim could see that Kekshthal was growing tired. But the veteran seemed determined to finish this part of his story. The breaking point came during a human bombing raid, Kekshthal said. Our own forces attacked the area where the prison facility was located. They did not know we were there, or they did not care. What happened? The facility was hit. Several humans were injured, including Dr. Choi. She was trapped under debris with internal injuries. Captain Jung was organizing evacuation of both human staff and Zephyrian prisoners. But Dr. Choi was too badly hurt to move safely. Kim waited, sensing this was an important moment in the story. I could have escaped during the chaos. The facility's security was damaged. But instead, I found myself helping to dig Dr. Choi out of the rubble. Kekshthal looked at his cybernetic arm. That is how I lost my original arm. But we saved her life. Why did you choose to help instead of escape? Because she had saved Velketh. Because she had treated us like people instead of enemies. Because... Kekshthal struggled with the words. Because it was the right thing to do. Kim could see other memorial visitors gathering nearby, drawn by the veteran's story. The young filmmaker realized he was documenting something important. How did this incident change things? When rescue ships arrived, they found Zephyrian prisoners working alongside human staff to treat the wounded. Enemy soldiers sharing medical supplies and helping each other survive. Keksthal's cybernetic fingers clicked rapidly. The Empire could not explain this to their own people. Did this cause problems for your military? Reports of corrupted soldiers reached high command. Other Zephyrian units began reporting similar incidents. Prisoners who refused to provide intelligence. Soldiers who questioned orders to attack medical facilities. Warriors who showed mercy to human captives. The veteran's voice grew heavy. The Empire's rigid military structure was not designed to handle soldiers who developed consciences. Kim could see the weight of these memories on the old alien's face. This was the beginning of larger changes? Yes. Word spread through Zephyrian military channels that fighting humans changed people. Made them soft. Made them think too much about right and wrong. Kexthal looked around the memorial hall at the mixed names on the walls. The Empire tried to stop it, but the damage was done. Too many soldiers had experienced human kindness firsthand. Is that when you decided the war was wrong? Not yet. But I was beginning to understand that we were not fighting an enemy. We were fighting people who were better than us. The old veteran's voice was barely a whisper. And that was truly terrifying. The memorial hall was almost empty now as evening approached. Kim Min-jun had ordered dinner for both himself and Kexthal. But the food sat untouched as the veteran continued his story. The old Zephyrian seemed driven to finish what he had started. After my release from the human facility, I was sent back to active duty, Kexthal said. But I was different. My whole squad was different. The Empire noticed. How did they notice? Kim asked. We hesitated during combat operations. When ordered to fire on human medical ships, some of us refused. When we captured human personnel, we treated them according to the standards we had experienced. The veteran's cybernetic arm clicked steadily. Our commanding officers called it contamination. Kim leaned forward. Contamination? They said exposure to human psychological warfare had made us weak. We were reassigned to rear guard duties, away from direct combat. Kexthal's golden eyes reflected the memorial's soft lighting. But the Empire's problems were spreading. What kind of problems? Mass desertion. Soldiers refusing orders. Entire units requesting transfer away from the human front. The old veteran looked tired, but determined. High Command decided to end the war quickly with one massive assault. Kim checked his recording device. This seemed to be leading to something important. What was the target? Titan Station. The largest human military installation in their territory. Admiral Yi Sun-shin commanded the defense fleet there. Kexthal paused. The Empire sent everything. 500 bioships, 50,000 warriors, enough firepower to destroy an entire star system. Were you part of this assault? Yes. They needed every available soldier for the final push. Even contaminated ones like me. The veteran's voice became heavy, with old pain. I was aboard the bioship Vengeance Seeker when we jumped into the Titan system. Kim waited as Kexthal gathered his thoughts. Outside the memorial hall windows, the first evening stars were becoming visible. The human fleet was outnumbered 5-1. They had older ships, weaker weapons, fewer soldiers. Victory should have been certain. Kexthal shook his head slowly. But Admiral Yi did something that changed everything. What did he do? When our bioships began their attack, the human fleet formed a defensive sphere around Titan Station, standard military tactics. But as our forces pressed the attack and human ships were damaged, the veteran stopped, struggling with the memory. Kim waited patiently, understanding that some moments needed time. The humans started rescuing our people. Kexthal finally said. When Zephyrian bioships were crippled by defensive fire, human rescue shuttles launched to save the crews. The young filmmaker looked confused. During active combat? Yes. Admiral Yi ordered his forces to recover survivors from damaged vessels, even while the battle continued. I watched human pilots risk their lives to pull Zephyrian warriors from the vacuum of space. Kexthal's voice cracked. They were saving the same soldiers who had been trying to kill them moments before. Kim made rapid notes, trying to capture the significance of what he was hearing. Chaos. Confusion. Many Zephyrian bioships stopped firing because they could not target human rescue shuttles without hitting their own people. The veterans' cybernetic fingers drummed nervously. Our battle formations broke down as ships moved to protect their rescued crews. Did your commanders try to stop this? They tried, but the rescue operations were happening too fast, in too many places. Every time a Zephyrian bioship was damaged, human medics appeared to help. Kexthal looked down at his cybernetic arm. That is when my ship was hit. Kim could see the pain in the old alien's expression. What happened? Direct hit from a human defense platform. The Vengeance Seeker's biohull was breached. Life support. Failing. My section was cut off from the escape pods. Kexthal's voice became very quiet. I was trapped with 3 other warriors in a compartment that was venting atmosphere. How were you rescued? Lieutenant Commander Yoonji Woo. She commanded a human rescue shuttle that intercepted our distress signal. The veteran's golden eyes filled with emotion. She could have ignored it. Her orders were to evacuate human personnel first, but she came for us anyway. Kim waited as Kexthal composed himself. The old alien's cybernetic arm was clicking rapidly now. The rescue was complicated. Our bioship was breaking apart, and the docking ports were damaged. Lieutenant Commander Yoon had to cut through the hull manually. Kexthal held up his cybernetic arm. She lost her arm, pulling me through the breach. The metal was twisted and sharp. She was injured saving you? Badly injured. But she got all 4 of us to her shuttle before the Vengeance Seeker exploded. The veteran's voice was barely a whisper. As we flew toward the human medical ships, she was losing blood fast. Her crew was trying to stabilize her. Kim could see tears forming in the old Zephyrian's golden eyes. Did she survive? No. She died during the flight. Her last words were spoken in broken Zephyrian. Kexthal's voice broke completely. She called me friend and asked me to tell her family she had done her duty. The memorial hall was silent except for the soft sounds of the building's systems. Kim could see other visitors had stopped their own conversations to listen to the veteran's story. That was the moment I understood, Kexthal continued after a long pause. Lieutenant Commander Yoon died to save enemy soldiers. She gave her life for people who had been trying to kill her. Not for strategy or tactics, but because she believed every life had value. How did that make you feel? Broken, ashamed, terrified. The veteran looked around the memorial hall. How do you fight people like that? How do you maintain hatred for an enemy who keeps proving they are better than you? Kim could see the weight of these memories on the old alien's shoulders. Is that why you call it a nightmare? Yes. The nightmare was not human weapons or tactics. It was fighting people who consistently chose mercy over vengeance, who saved their enemies instead of destroying them, who treated prisoners better than our own empire treated its citizens. What happened to the other Zephyrian soldiers who witnessed this? Mass surrender. Entire bioship crews laying down their weapons, rather than continue fighting people who had shown them such kindness. Kexthal's cybernetic arm clicked slowly. Within 6 hours, the greatest military assault in Zephyrian history had collapsed. Because of the rescue operations? Because our soldiers could not stomach fighting beings who embodied everything we wished our own society could be. The humans forced us to confront our own moral failures simply by being themselves. The veteran looked exhausted. How do you explain to your people that you lost a war because the enemy was too good? Kim realized he was documenting a turning point in galactic history. This was the end of the war? Effectively, yes. The Empire tried to continue fighting, but too many soldiers refused orders. The military hierarchy began breaking down as warriors questioned the morality of conquest. Kexthal gestured toward the memorial walls. Within a year, revolution had spread throughout Zephyrian space. Revolution? Citizens demanding the humanitarian values they had heard about from returning soldiers. people asking why their government could not treat them as well as humans treated their enemies. The old veteran smiled sadly. The empire fell not through military defeat, but through moral transformation. Kim looked at his extensive notes, trying to process everything he had heard. So, humanity won through being human? They did not win. They transformed us. Kexthal's golden eyes met Kim's. That was the true nightmare. Fighting an enemy who refused to be an enemy, who insisted on treating us as friends even while we were trying to destroy them. The memorial hall's evening lights came on automatically, casting a warm glow over the carved names on the walls. Kim could see both human and Zephyrian names, side by side. Honored, equally. There is more to this story, Kexthal said quietly. About what came after. About how we learned to build something better from the ashes of our old hatred. The memorial hall was quiet in the evening light. Kim Min-jun looked at his recording device, amazed by everything he had captured. Across the table, Kexthal seemed drained but also lighter, as if telling his story had lifted a great weight from his shoulders. What happened after the war ended? Kim asked gently. Chaos at first. The Zephyrian Empire collapsed within 2 years. Entire worlds declared independence. Military units disbanded or joined revolutionary groups. Kexthal's cybernetic arm moved slowly as he gestured. Many of us did not know what to do with ourselves. Did the humans try to take advantage of this chaos? That was what we expected. In galactic history, when one empire falls, others move in to claim territory and resources. The old veteran's golden eyes reflected the memorial's soft lighting. But humans did something different. Kim leaned forward, interested. What did they do? They offered help. Medical aid, food supplies, technical assistance. Admiral Yi Sun-shin himself came to our capital world to meet with the Revolutionary Council. Kexthal's voice carried wonder even after 50 years. He brought no demands, no conditions. Just an offer of friendship. How did your people respond? With suspicion at first. We thought it was a trick, some kind of delayed conquest strategy. But the help came with no strings attached. The veteran looked around the memorial hall. Human medical teams treated our wounded. Human engineers helped rebuild damaged infrastructure. Human teachers shared their knowledge freely. Kim made notes while trying to understand this alien perspective. When did you personally encounter humans again? 6 months after the war ended. I was part of a former soldier rehabilitation program on New Zephyr. Many of us were struggling with what we had experienced. Kexthal paused. That was when Dr. Sarah Choi arrived. The doctor who ran your prison facility? Yes. She had volunteered to help establish medical centers in former Zephyrian territory. When she saw my name on the refugee lists, she asked to meet with me personally. The veteran's voice became warm with memory. She remembered my friend Velketh and asked about his recovery. What was that meeting like? Emotional? Difficult? Healing? Kexthal looked down at his hands. Dr. Choi told me about Lieutenant Commander Yoon Ji-woo's family. No. Her parents. Her younger brother studying to be a doctor himself. She said they wanted to meet the people their daughter had died saving. Kim could see the impact this had made on the old alien. Did you meet them? Yes. 3 months later, I traveled to Earth with a group of former Zephyrian soldiers. It was part of a cultural exchange program. Dr. Choi had organized. The veteran's cybernetic fingers traced patterns on the table. The Yoon family welcomed us into their home, like honored guests. How did that feel? Overwhelming. Lieutenant Commander Yoon's mother cooked traditional Korean food and asked about Zephyrian customs. Her father showed us pictures of his daughter and talked about her dreams of peaceful exploration. Kexthal's voice cracked slightly. They treated us like family, not like the enemies who had caused their daughter's death. The memorial hall was almost empty now, but Kim noticed that some of the maintenance staff were listening to the veteran's story as they worked. What did you do after returning to Zephyrian space? I joined Dr. Choi's medical mission. She was training mixed human Zephyrian medical teams to work in disaster zones throughout the galaxy. The old veteran smiled. I became her assistant and translator. We worked together for 15 years. What was that work like? Transformative. We treated victims of conflicts, natural disasters, and accidents, regardless of species. Our teams showed the galaxy that former enemies could become partners. Kexthal looked around the memorial hall. Many of the people working here today are graduates of our program. Kim followed the veteran's gaze and saw humans and Zephyrians working side by side to maintain the memorial. This building represents that cooperation? Yes. The memorial was built jointly by human and Zephyrian engineers. Every name on these walls was approved by families from both sides. The veteran stood slowly and walked toward the nearest wall. Come, let me show you something. Kim followed with his recording device. Kexthal stopped in front of a section where human and Zephyrian names were mixed together. Here, the veteran pointed to a name carved in both human and Zephyrian script. Lieutenant Commander Yoon Ji-woo, hero to both our peoples. Kim read the inscription, noting the honors listed below her name. She is celebrated by Zephyrians too? Every year, on the anniversary of Titan Station, I come here to honor her memory. Her sacrifice saved not just my life, but helped end a war that was destroying both our civilizations. Kexthal's cybernetic hand touched the carved letters gently. She taught me that enemies are only enemies until someone chooses to be better. The young filmmaker looked around the memorial hall with new understanding. This whole place is about that choice? Yes. About the moment when beings decide to stop fighting and start healing. The veteran walked slowly back to their table. Your documentary project is part of that healing. How so? By recording these stories, you help new generations understand what really happened during the war. Not just the battles and dates, but the moments when people chose compassion over hatred. Kexthal sat down carefully. These testimonies ensure that the lessons are not forgotten. 1. Kim looked at his notes, realizing the scope of what he was documenting. Are there many other veterans willing to share their stories? Hundreds. From dozens of species, the war touched many worlds, and its lessons spread throughout the galaxy. The old veteran gestured toward the memorial's information displays. You will find contact information for veteran groups in the archive section. What would you want people to understand from your story? Kexthal was quiet for a long moment, considering the question carefully. That humans did not defeat us through superior weapons or tactics. They defeated us by refusing to let us remain enemies. The sense of Kexthal. Right, Tenling, Kexthal. They refusing? Kim nodded, understanding the profound significance of this statement. Every time we tried to hate them, they showed us kindness. Every time we caused them harm, they responded with healing. Every time we expected vengeance, they offered forgiveness. The veteran's golden eyes were bright with unshed tears. That was the true nightmare of fighting humans. They made us confront what we could become if we chose to be better. And that changed everything? Not just for Zephyrians. Word of human behavior during the war spread throughout galactic civilization. Other species began questioning their own aggressive traditions. The Galactic Council established new warfare protocols based on human examples. Civilian protection, prisoner treatment, medical neutrality, all standard now because of what humans taught us. Kim made final notes as he prepared to end the interview. What would you say to humans who hear this story? That their greatest strength is not their technology or their courage. It is their belief that former enemies can become friends. That redemption is always possible. That every being has value, regardless of species or past actions. The veteran's voice became firm and clear. They changed the galaxy simply by being themselves. As if summoned by his words, a group of young humans and Zephyrians entered the memorial hall. They were students, Kim realized, here to learn about the war and its aftermath. They moved through the exhibits together, sharing observations and asking questions. The future, Kexthal said, watching the young people. They do not see each other as former enemies. They see friends they have not met yet. Kim packed up his recording equipment, his mind racing with everything he had learned. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for listening, for recording, for ensuring these lessons survive. The old veteran stood slowly and reached into his pocket. I have something for you. Kexthal handed Kim a small pendant made from twisted metal. This was crafted from debris recovered at Titan Station. Metal from both human and Zephyrian ships, melted together in the heat of battle. Kim accepted the gift carefully. It is beautiful. It represents the choice every species faces when they encounter humanity. They can remain as they were, or they can become something better. The veteran's cybernetic arm clicked softly as he extended his hand. That choice transformed my people. I hope your documentary helps others make the same decision. They shook hands, human and Zephyrian, former enemies now united in the work of peace. Around them, the memorial hall stood as proof that the darkest conflicts could end in the brightest hope. As Kim left the building, he could see the veteran through the windows, standing quietly before Lieutenant Commander Yoon's name. Tomorrow would bring new interviews, new stories, new lessons from the war that taught the galaxy the true meaning of victory. The nightmare of fighting humans was over. The dream they had inspired was just beginning.